The Five Nights at Freddy's 2 movie has been out for a while now, and I think it's time I give the final verdict on this film. I've seen the movie twice now, and my thoughts on it have changed a bit since the livestream I did discussing the film. My main point still stands though. I enjoyed the movie, I had a great time watching it, and I think it's better than the first film, at least in terms of the writing. A lot of the criticism I had with the first film felt like they were addressed and taken care of when making this one. The writing was a lot better, the plot felt like it progressed more naturally with proper setups and payoffs that moved the story along nicely, character motivations made more sense in this movie, and the conflict between characters was fleshed out to feel more believable. However, after my second viewing of the film, I noticed this movie is incredibly plot heavy, to the point where it feels overwhelming and doesn't explain important details, since it doesn't really have time to do so. I'll start with a summary and breakdown of the plot, so you get an idea of where I'm coming from. The film takes place 1 year after the events of the first movie. We follow Mike, Abby, and Vanessa as they try to move on with their lives and leave behind the horrors they witnessed at Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. When did Vanessa wake up from the coma she was in at the end of the first movie? Don't worry about it doesn't matter, shut up. Anyways, Mike and Abby's relationship is stronger than ever now that Mike has put the trauma of losing his little brother Garrett to rest, and Abby has realized that Mike does care about her and he just wants to protect her. While Mike is working his hardest to move forward in life, Abby still misses the animatronics and really wants to see them again. Vanessa, on the other hand, is not doing so well. She struggles with the trauma she experienced by her father, William Afton, and continues to have nightmares and hallucinations of him taunting her. She discusses her struggles with Mike, who tries his best in helping her overcome her past. This brings the two closer, where they begin to build a friendship and maybe even some romantic feelings for one another. Have fun with that one, shippers. The movie goes on and we are introduced to a set of new characters, 3 of them being members of this hit TV show where they explore haunted places, and the other being a sketchy looking security guard who shows them an old abandoned Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria that apparently is the first ever establishment. While there, one of the crew members, a girl named Lisa, accidentally frees the marionette from her slumber by turning off a music box. The marionette then attacks Lisa and goes on to possess her body, which then leads the other members being killed by the toy animatronics. All while the sketchy-looking security guard makes his escape and looks on from the outside all creepily and mysteriously. Now, you may be asking yourself, how is the marionette able to possess the bodies of other people? And the answer to that is yes. From here, the marionette lures Abby to the pizzeria by tricking her into thinking that the toy animatronics are her friends, Freddy, Chica, Bonnie, and Foxy. The marionette gains Abby's trust and then uses her as leverage to force Vanessa to free her and the toy animatronics from the pizzeria by disabling their shutdown procedures that prevent them from leaving the building. Vanessa does this, and so they go off to begin their rampage of murder throughout the town. Mike and Vanessa now have to team up once again in order to stop the animatronics from hurting Abby or anyone else in town. During this endeavor, we learn that the marionette is possessed by the soul of a little girl named Charlotte, who was murdered by William Afton. We also learned that Vanessa knew this information and was the one who put the marionette to sleep by playing the music box because Charlotte was filled with so much rage towards adults that she wanted to kill them all, since no adult came to help her in her time of need. Mike also learns this information when he tracks down Charlotte's father, Henry, and he tells him it was Afton who killed his daughter and that Charlotte's childhood best friend was Vanessa. This leads to a confrontation between Mike and Vanessa, where she admits she knew her father killed Charlotte and she did nothing about it. This makes Mike grow distrustful of Vanessa as he is trying his hardest to move past what happened at Freddy's, but he fears Vanessa and her past could cause problems for him and Abby. Regardless, the two put aside their conflict and work together to stop Charlotte. They are able to hunt down and stop the toy animatronics from killing anyone in town. Well, except for Abby's robotics teacher. He dead as hell. They then confront Charlotte at Mike's house and discover she is now possessing the body of Abby. Unfortunately for Charlotte, when Mike visited Henry, he gave him a music box he made for Charlotte to help her sleep when she was a child. Mike pulls out the music box and plays it, which causes Charlotte to release Abby and retreat into the bedroom. While Mike and Vanessa tend to Abby, the toy animatronics show up with the sketchy security guard from earlier, who reveals himself to be Michael Afton, son of William Afton and Vanessa's brother. He reveals his goal is to continue their father's legacy of death by having the toy animatronics kill everyone in town. But then, the Fazbear Avengers assemble and destroy the toy animatronics, causing Michael Afton to flee into the night. That sounds really cringy when I say it like that. While the day may have been saved, it turns out to be a bittersweet ending. The ghost children tell Mike and Abby that because they have been away from the pizzeria, their animatronic bodies are shutting down, and now their souls are free and they can go to heaven. They all get up and leave, and Mike turns to Vanessa and tells her he can't trust her anymore and she should stay away from him and Abby. As Vanessa stands there alone all sad, the marionette sneaks up from behind her and possesses her body, ending the movie on an inconclusive conclusion. Well, that doesn't make any sense. I don't think my breakdown does justice on how bloated this plot is. I condensed and combined a lot of the major scenes and plot points, and I still had to leave some stuff out. Like how there's this subplot about Abby trying to build a robot for a robotics contest she is a part of, but she's really bad at robotics. So bad, her teacher convinces her to drop out of the contest and even bribes her to stay away from the competition. She inevitably joins when the toy animatronics, especially Toy Chica, help her with her project. This subplot takes up a good chunk of time in the movie, and a lot of it feels like filler in order to make the movie longer. They could have shortened this section and used that time to focus on other aspects of the film, but they didn't. That would have been nice too, because by the third act of this movie, things start moving fast. The final act is all about Vanessa and Mike hunting down the toy animatronics and Charlotte and stopping them from killing anybody. But it's so rushed that it doesn't feel satisfying when they are defeated. This wouldn't be a problem if the plot of the movie didn't need to cover so much ground in setting up events and scenarios. In the first movie, we only followed Mike and Abby, which led to a simpler plot since we only needed to set up events of the story around those two characters. In this movie, you've got Mike, Abby, Vanessa, Charlotte, Henry, and Michael Afton, all with their own motivations and arcs that must tie into the overall plot. So there is way more information that needs to be established and then have it all tie back together to form the overall narrative. This has led to one of the biggest criticisms of the movie being it's too heavy on the plot, which I agree with. Personally though, I don't mind a movie with a heavy plot, and I enjoyed all the setups and payoffs, but I can definitely see how people can get lost when watching this movie, because there's just way too much information being given. Hell, during my second viewing of the movie, I noticed there was a lot of things I missed or didn't remember from the first time I watched it. It can be overwhelming, especially if you're not familiar with the Five Nights at Freddy's lore. It makes the movie only enjoyable to fans of the franchise, and while that's not necessarily a bad thing, it prevents anyone from becoming a new fan to FNAF if their first experience was the movies and they didn't make any sense to them. With so much being set up, it also forgets to answer some key questions. Two that stand out to me are, when did Vanessa wake up from her coma, and why is Charlotte able to possess other people? The first movie ended with Vanessa in a coma after she got stabbed by Afton, and in this movie, she is already awake and moving along in life. Her story was left on a major cliffhanger. Will she live, or will she die? So for her to have woken up off screen feels like a disservice to anyone who was genuinely worried about her fate at the end of the first movie. It also makes it feel like the writers didn't really plan on how they would incorporate that into the story, and so they just ignored it. Charlotte being able to possess people's bodies is a whole new concept the movie introduces, without any reasoning on how she can do that. None of the other ghost children were shown to be able to do this, so why can Charlotte do it? This also begs the question of why did she want to possess Abby in particular? She already possessed Lisa, so why go through the trouble to possess Abby? If I recall, Vanessa says Charlotte wants to possess someone who is close to the animatronics, but it's never explained why that would even matter. This also begs another question. How did Charlotte know about Abby? How does she know Abby even exists, let alone know she built up a friendship with the animatronic from the first movie? If the movie wasn't so bloated already, it could have used some of that time to answer these questions, but instead, it feels like it was added simply to add tension to the story. Despite this criticism, I still really enjoyed the film. I felt, while yes, the plot was definitely bloated and needed to answer some important questions, the story the movie was telling progressed naturally like a narrative should. The events that unfolded made sense and were properly set up and paid off, which made the film tell a more consistent story. Even that cringy Avengers Assemble scene at the end made sense. I forgot to mention it, but at one point towards the end, Mike goes to the pizzeria from the first movie and begs the animatronics to help him save Abby. At first, there's no response, and so Mike leaves. But later, that scene gets paid off when the animatronics show up and destroy the toy animatronics. It's cheap, it's definitely cringy, but it was set up and paid off, so it fit within the story. On a different topic, I really like the tone of this movie. It's a lot more dark and mature than the first one. Some characters go through hell in this movie, and the ones that die brutally. The first movie felt very safe, especially when it came to violence, and it didn't really show any gore or brutal deaths. But this movie? Oh, let me tell you, This movie starts with Charlotte getting stabbed to death. Now granted, we don't see Afton actually stab her at all, but we do see him chase her in the Yellow Rabbit suit, and when she escapes through the main stage, she collapses, revealing 3 stab wounds in her back. It's freaking dark. And that's not all. The 2 crew members who get killed by the toy animatronics are killed brutally. One of them gets pulled into a river and killed by miniature marionettes, and a big geyser of blood comes spewing out of the water. And the other guy, who is the cameraman, gets torn apart by Mangle, and you see his limbs fall to the ground through the perspective of his camera. It's way more edgy with its kills than the first movie was, and I'm all here for it. I even like the design of Lisa and Abby after they became possessed by the marionette. Their faces turned into a human-like design of the marionette's mask, and their limbs were elongated to match her design. It looks really creepy. Well, except when they're floating around. That kind of looks a little silly. But the design is cool. I feel like this movie listened to a lot of the criticism of the first movie, especially from longtime fans of the franchise. It very much feels like it's attempting to appeal to the older fans who like the darker, more serious tone of the early games. It shows Scott Cawthon and the filmmakers care about making something the fans will like, and that's nice. Despite all that, the movie still has some problems, and it isn't great, but it also feels like it's not trying to be. It's trying to be good enough for the fans of the franchise, which, so far, I think both movies have succeeded in that. Thanks for watching! A quick shout out to the lads who helped fund this video, and an even bigger shout out to Sonic the Fastest Kid Alive, Tic Tac SM, Lonesome Hawk, The Fallen King, Geist Phoenix, Stacy Ola, Remus V. Janisanis, and Mary Cece for being such epic mad lads. Alright, I gotta go. I'm gonna go see if I can catch the FNAF movie in theaters one more time. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace!